Welcome, 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 everybody. Welcome to our soul's journey. Welcome to a beautiful morning. Let's start our morning by closing our eyes and becoming centered, balanced, aligned with our breath. Concentrate on your breath and see how beautifully, rhythmatically, it selflessly goes in and goes out. With each breath of yours, be grateful for all the love, the light, the oxygen that you're traveling and carrying. And see the breath reaching in deepest parts of your being. For this, if you wish, you can just do a deep inhale and hold your breath and see that the oxygen is going into every single molecule, fiber, cell of your being. Thereby, anything which is having a blockage gets released. And as you exhale out, feel all the static energies just leaving your body. Simply exhale out all that is not necessary. You may affirm that I am a channel of light and love. That all the vibrant, active enters through me, and all that is not required anymore by my body leaves me automatically, effortlessly. I am healthy, I'm growing, I'm glowing. With this, if you want, you can feel your body becoming its best version by becoming more fitter, more active, more vibrant, more energetic. All those unnecessary layers are leaving you so effortlessly because you are tuned within and you are absolutely fresh and you do not wish to have any kind of protection layer. And because you're so safe and secure, the protection layer of the namely fat or the layers is leaving your body once and for all, never to be found again. And as you take a deep breath in, be grateful for your ancestors. Be grateful to your parents, to your gurus, mentors, teachers in this realm or the other, is in that dimension or the other, in this universe or the other, for always being there to guide you, protect you, guard you, and teach you the beautiful lessons of life. Let's be grateful to our soul who has chosen this life to learn, to further its own journey. And may we pray to the Almighty that may we reach that beautiful point where we know what we are doing for our soul's own growth. No matter how we are in our personal lives, may we go internally to find that absolute bliss and peace. Where we're doing some work for our soul, where we're doing the soul work, where we're doing beautiful acts of compassion, kindness, empathy, selflessly, unconditionally, on a daily level, some small act or the other, which enhances the quality of what our soul is looking at for its own journey. Acts of kindness always pay back in life, some way or another. It's a circle of life. So be blessed that we have opportunities on a daily level to be on that journey. It doesn't have to be big or small. Even small acts of kindness make us feel better. You sharing your light in a small or a big way, can be the light for somebody to brighten his or her world. So may that beautiful exchange of light or traveling of light from us to another be often taking place. May we all become channels of love, light, and happiness and spreading joy. We are love. We are light. We shine bright, bright here, bright now. We are open and receptive to all the abundance in the universe. With our open hands, we embrace all the vastness of the universe, all the beautiful positivity, and whatever was negative in our body is now turned completely positive. This physical body is healing this very moment as we've opened ourselves to receiving more light. When light enters, darkness fades. When light enters, any kind of sickness fades, because that's all about dark energy. Let's fold our hands in gratitude to every person, body, or thing that has helped us in our inward journey. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We all have been created for a reason, and we all destroy, cells within us destroy, and we destroy our own darkness by finding the light. We preserve what is beautiful. We grow it. We inculcate beautiful values, and so it is. So it is. Let's rub our hands together. Bless our beautiful eyes, our wonderful face, our neck, our chest, our shoulders, back, upper back, lower back, the hip area, the thigh area, knees, front and back, calves, soles, and gently open your eyes. Let's all have a blessed morning. Beautiful. All right. And we started this beautiful book yesterday, and we're going to be continuing that one, which we started, Only Love is Real, by Dr. Weiss. And here we are going to be in this beautiful book, chapter number 4. So the idea of reincarnation contains a most comforting explanation of reality by means of which Indian thought surmounts difficulties which baffle the thinkers of Europe, says Albert Schweitzer. What does this mean? हमारे देश में reincarnation is common, it's known, it's something which everybody believes in. And we have a very beautiful explanation for it, that Atma is eternal and so much is going on around it. So when we say this, if you realize how Christianity says rest in peace, because they believe that when a physical body dies, it's the end of it. So it buffers others, but now others have also started believing in our so-called knowledge. Elizabeth's first experience with regression occurred the following week. I quickly put her into a deep state of hypnosis by using a rapid induction needed. 1 second, please. Rapid induction method in order to bypass the blocks and obstacles that the conscious mind often constructs. Hypnosis is a state of focused concentration, but the ego, the mind, has the ability to interfere with this concentration by bringing up distracting thoughts. In using a rapid induction technique, I was able to put Elizabeth into a deep hypnotic state within a minute. I had given her relaxation tape to play at home during the week before appointments. I recorded tape to help my patients practice the technique of self-hypnosis. I found that the more they practice at home, the deeper they seem to go in the office. The tape also helps patients to relax, and it often helps them to fall asleep. Elizabeth tried listening to the tape at home, but she couldn't relax. She felt much too anxious. What if something happened? She worried that because she was alone, there was probably no one to help her. Her mind protected her by allowing everyday thoughts to crowd in and distract her from the tape. Between her nervousness and her thoughts, She couldn't concentrate. As she decided to experience at home with the tape, I decided to use more, as she described the experience at home with the tape, I decided to use a more rapid method of hypnosis to move her beyond the obstacles that her mind and her fears were creating. The most common technique was to induce a hypnotic trance called progressive relaxation. Beginning by having the patient slow her breathing, the therapist then talks the patient into a deeply relaxed state by instructing the patient to gently and sequentially relax her muscles. Then she's asked to visualize or imagine beautiful and relaxing scenes. By using techniques such as counting backwards, the therapist helps the patient go even deeper. By this time, the patient is in light to moderate hypnotic trance, which the therapist can then deepen if desired. The whole process takes about 15 minutes. During the 15 minutes, however, the patient's mind can disrupt the hypnotic process by thinking or analyzing or debating instead of relaxing and flowing with the suggestions. Accountants and other people who have been drilled to think in a logical, linear, highly rational pattern frequently allow the chatter of their minds to disrupt the process. Even though I felt Elizabeth could go under deeply, no matter which technique I used, I decided to use a more rapid method anyway, just to be sure. I told Elizabeth to sit forward in her chair, to keep her gaze fixed on my eyes, and to press down with her right hand, which was palm to palm with mine. I was standing in front of her. As she applied the pressure to my hand, with her body tilted slightly forward in the chair, I talked to her. Her eyes were fixed on mine. Suddenly, and without any warning, I pulled away my hand, which was underneath her. Her body, now unsupported, lurched forward. At this precise moment, I said, "Sleep," very loudly. Instantly, Elizabeth's body collapsed back into the chair. She was already into a deep hypnotic stance. While her conscious mind had been preoccupied with the sudden loss of balance, my command to sleep traveled directly and without any interference to her subconscious. She went directly into a state of conscious sleep, which is an equivalent of hypnosis. You can remember everything, every experience you have ever had, I told her. We could now begin the journey backwards. I wanted to see which of her senses predominated in her recollection. So I asked her to go back to her last pleasant meal, and I instructed her to use all of her senses as she remembered the meal. She remembered the smell, the taste, the sight, and the feeling of her recent dinner, so I knew she had the ability for vivid recall. It seemed, in her case, that the visual sense was the most predominant. And then I took her back into her childhood to see if she could retrieve a memory from a placid period in her Minnesota childhood. She smiled a little girl's contented smile. I am in the kitchen with my mother. She looks very young. I am young too. I'm little. I'm about 5 and we're cooking. We're making pies and cookies. It's fun. My mother's happy and I can see it all, the apron, her hair up. I can smell the smells. They are wonderful. Walk into another room and tell me what you see, I instructed her. She walked in the living room. She described a large dark wood furniture, the well-worn floors, and then a portrait of her mother, a photo that was on dark wooden table next to it in a big comfortable chair. I see my mother in the picture, Elizabeth went on. She's beautiful, so young. I see the pearls around her neck. She loves those pearls. They're for special occasions. The beautiful white dress, her dark hair, her eyes are so bright and so healthy. Good, I said. I'm glad you remember her and that you can see her so clearly. The virtual certainty of remembering a recent meal or a childhood scene helps build the patient's confidence in his or her ability to recall memories. These memories show the patient that hypnosis works and that it is not frightening. The process can even be pleasant. The patient sees that recalled memories are often more vivid and more detailed than the memories of the conscious waking mind. After emerging from the trance, patients always consciously remember memories recalled during hypnosis only rarely are patients in such a deep state that they have amnesia for what was experienced. Although I frequently tape record regression sessions to ensure accuracy and to refer to when necessary, the tapes are more for me than for the patients. They remember vividly. Now we will even go further back. Don't worry what is imagination, what is fantasy, what is metaphor or symbol, actual memory, or some combination of all of these, I told her. Just let yourself experience. Try not to let your mind judge or criticize or even comment on a material you're experiencing. Just experience it. This is only for the experience. You can critique it afterwards. You can analyze it later. But for now, just let yourself experience, I said. We're going back into the womb now, into the in utero period, just before you were born. Whatever pops into your head is fine. Just let yourself experience it, Dr. Sawaya said. And I counted back from 5 to 1. Deepening her state of hypnosis, Elizabeth felt herself inside her mama's womb. It was warm and safe, and she could feel her mother's love. A tear trickled down from the corner of each of her closed eyes. She remembers how much her parents had wanted her, especially her mother. The tears were of happiness and of nostalgia. Elizabeth could already feel the love that could greet her birth and made her feel so very happy. It is very imperative that बोलते ना जब बच्चा कोख में हो mama's experiences. If the mom is unhappy, the child is born with the seed of an unhappiness. But if the family is excited about the birth, then that works. But if in case it's a girl child and people expecting a boy child, and if somebody says that to the mother, or mother hears it, the child also hears it. He or she has been sown with a sense of insecurity, of unhappiness. So it's very imperative for all of us in future, if we come in a situation like this, to make the mother feel very wanted and loved. Of course, her inner thoughts really make a difference, because every time, everything she does, the child is going through the 9 months in utero, on at the time of birth and even later. So they say the umbilical cord is cut when the mother delivers a child, but that cord is actually never cut. It's the astral cord which is always there between a mother and a child. So even if the child crosses over or the mother crosses over, that cord is always there. Very special cord. Back to the story. Her experience in the womb is not positive proof that the memory is accurate or that it is indeed a complete memory. But to Elizabeth, the sensations and emotions were so strong and so powerful that they were real to her, and this made her feel so much better. While under hypnosis, a patient of mine remembered being born as a twin. The other twin was stillborn. However, the patient never knew that she had a twin sister. Her parents had never told her about her stillborn sibling. When she told her parents about her experience under hypnosis, they confirmed the complete accuracy of her recall. She was indeed a twin. Usually, however, memories from the womb are difficult to validate. Are you ready to go further back now? I asked, hoping Elizabeth had not become frightened by the intensity of emotions. Yes, she cried calmly. I am ready. Good, I see. Now we are going to go back to see if you can remember anything from before, either in a mystical or spiritual state, in another dimension, or even in a past life. Whatever pops into your head is fine. Don't critique it. Don't worry about it. Just experience it. Let yourself experience. I had an imagine herself walking into an elevator and pushing a button as I slowly counted backward from 5 to 1. The elevator traveled back through time, through space, and the door opened when I said 1. I instructed her to step outside and join the figure, the scene, the experience on the other side of the door, but it was not what I expected. It's so dark, she said. With terror in her voice, I've fallen off the boat. It's so cold. It's terrible. If you become uncomfortable, I quickly interrupted, just float above the scene and watch it as if you're watching a movie. But if you're not uncomfortable, stay with it, see what happens, see what you experience. The experience was frightening to her. So she floated above. Elizabeth could see herself as a teenage boy, having fallen off a boat in a storm at night. This boy had drowned in the dark water. Suddenly, her breathing slowed noticeably and she seemed more peaceful. She had detached from the body. I have left that body, said Elizabeth, almost matter of factly. This all had happened extremely rapidly. Before I had time to explore the lifetime, she was already out of the body. I wanted her to review what had happened, to tell me what she could see and understand. What were you doing on that boat? I asked her, trying to pack back up in time, even though she was already out of her body. I was traveling with my father, she said, and suddenly a sudden storm came up. The boat began to take on water. It was very unstable and rocking wildly. The waves were huge and I was swept over the side. What happened to the other people? I asked. I don't know. I was swept over the side. I don't know what happened to them. About how old were you when this happened? I don't know. About 12 or 13, a young teenager? Elizabeth did not seem eager to volunteer any more details. She had left that life early, both in that lifetime and in remembering in my office. We could not get any more information, so I awakened her. The following week, Elizabeth seemed less depressed, even though I had prescribed no antidepressant medication to treat her symptoms of grief and depression. I feel lighter, she said. I feel freer, and I find I'm not as uncomfortable in the dark. So, one slight brush with her past life, and all that she could feel choked, not be able to breathe, depressed, scared of the dark, is just finished. Now, can any medication in the world do this? And again, I say the scientific medication makes us used to the medication. It does not eradicate, it suppresses. But when we talk about past life or when we tap into our soul's journey, so much opens for us. Not that I'm saying that you should do it. I do it often, especially when I have questions, and I feel much better. I get so many answers. And I never have that fear that what if I'm in the room and something happens, because I trust the process. But yes, if anybody has to do that, I strongly recommend doing it from a laptop, or I don't know how will you do it, because if you don't have YouTube, which you can't download that, then it'll become tough. So mine, I have downloaded on my phone and I also do it from a laptop. So it works. Once I told you when I was in this past life regression on the YouTube session that we all have, and a phone call rang and got out of my thing with a jerk. Not that it made a difference, but I couldn't complete that dream, that past life regression. So to get answers, it's a good way to get off your fears. It's a good way. Elizabeth had always been somewhat uneasy in the dark, and she avoided going out alone at night. At home, she often kept all the lights on, but in the past week, she had noticed improvement with this system. Unbeknownst to me, swimming made her feel uneasy and somewhat anxious, but in the past week, she was able to spend time in the pool and jacuzzi in her condominium complex. Although they were not her main concerns, she was pleased as the symptoms were diminishing. So many of her fears are based in the past, not the future. Often the things we fear the most have already happened either in childhood or a past life. Because we have forgotten or only dimly remember, we fear that the traumatic event may become real in our future. But Elizabeth was still very sad, and we had not found a mother except in childhood memory. The search would continue. So I'm guided for all of us to close our eyes. Close your cameras if you require, otherwise let them be. Just close your eyes. And think of the one thought that you wish to heal, which is troubling you. Could be anything. And press your first finger in the middle of your forehead. Requesting your higher self, your soul, and your futuristic vision point, your Agna chakra and Sahasrara chakra, to help you tap into the knowledge and to help you relieve from that. You can put your hand back in your laps and just wait for any downloads if they may happen. Or just simply request the divine masters to help you understand what lesson did you have to learn from the problems that you're facing and what lesson have you learned. Meditate for this for at least 3 to 4 minutes, at least. If your mind wanders, then just be with your breath. And if nothing, no download comes, it's all right. Gently open your eyes. This is a technique you can go anytime that you want to find a solution to some problem that you're having. This is tapping into a subconscious mind by trusting it and by also taking guidance from our mentors, angel guardians who are not in this realm, or I should say, not in the physical body, who are ready to help us. The problem is when there's a problem, we tend to think that, I can solve it on my own. We tend to go to people in this physical realm that, okay, can you help me? Not realizing that they are also in a physical realm. Yes, they may be teachers, masters, but that you yourself are so powerful because you have lived eons of lives and that your subconscious mind has all the memories that you require to tap into, and that all you have to do is trust the process and ask, believe, and receive. It's as simple as that. And then you will realize that healing happens at such a deep level. Connection with yourself is very simple. All you have to do is just believe in it. There are times when I go off track and I don't want to meditate. I can't not meditate. Even when I was in Jaipur, the Pink City, for the conference, And I thought, okay, I've had a late night, so let me. Immediately, there's a mosquito manifestation, and I'm just bitten all over. And then everybody's like, there are no mosquitoes. This is my subconscious mind telling me you can't break away from a cycle. So if you don't want to meditate and you want to sleep, that's not possible. Because sometime deep down, I probably would have said that I need to meditate, come what may. It has to be an habit, come what may. Which is again not so cool in a way, cool in a way, not so cool. So all you have to do is trust your own subconscious mind, trust your own soul for giving you guidance rather than going to XYZ people. And when you go with an intention into your meditation, you're bound to get downloads, if not now, tomorrow, if not tomorrow, day after, but you're bound to get them. It is not some technique that one has to be learned. It's not something that, you have to be mastering in. All of us have these stages. Just go for it. Coming back to Elizabeth's story. Elizabeth's story is fascinating. Pedro's is similarly so. You get their stories are completely unique. Many of my patients have suffered from profound grief, from fears, from phobias, from frustrating relationships. Many have found the lost loved ones in other times and other places. Many have been able to heal their grief as they remember past lifetimes and reach spiritual states. Most of the people I have regressed are celebrities. Some are seemingly ordinary people with amazing stories. The experiences reflect the universal themes embodied in the unfolding journeys of Elizabeth and Pedro as they cross the crossroads of destiny. We're all walking along the same path. In November of 1992, I traveled to New York City to regress Joan Rivers, a part of a segment of television talk show, as part of a segment of a television talk show. We had arranged for the regression to be taped in a private hotel suite several days prior to the live taping of Joan's show. Joan arrived late, delayed by Howard Stern, the radio host, who was an uninhibited guest on that day's show. She was not very relaxed, still in her television makeup, jewelry, and a beautiful red sweater. As we talked prior to the regression, I learned that she was still grieving the deaths of her mother and her husband. Although her mother had died years earlier, the relationship had been very intense, and Joan continued to miss her greatly. Her husband's death was more recent. Joan stiffly sat in a plush beige patterned chair. The cameras began to record an extraordinary scene. Soon Joan slumped down the chair, her chin resting precariously on the palm of her hand. Her breathing slowed and she went deeply into the hypnotic state. I went under very deeply, she said later. The regression began and we went backward through time. Her first stop was at the age of 4. She remembered stress at home caused by a visit from her grandmother. Joan could see herself vividly. I'm wearing a checked dress with Mary Jane shoes and white socks. We left for a more distant time. The year was 1835, and she was in England where she was a woman of the gentry. I have dark hair, I'm taller and slim, she observed. She had 3 children. One is definitely my mother, she added. Joan recognized that one of her children in that lifetime, a 6-year-old daughter, had reincarnated as a present-day mother. How do you know it's her? I asked. I know it's her, she responded emphatically. Soul recognition often transcends verbal description. There is an intuitive knowing, a knowledge of the heart. Joan River knew that this little girl and her mother were the same soul. She did not recognize the Englishwoman's husband, who was also tall and slim as someone in her present life. He's wearing a beaver top hat, she said. He was formally dressed. We are walking in a large path with gardens, she noted. Joan began to cry and wanted to leave that time. One of her children was dying. It's her, she sobbed. Meaning the daughter whom she recognized as her mother in her current lifetime. Terrible, terrible, terribly sad. The young girl died and we left that time and place. We moved even further back in time, back into the 18th century. It's 1700 something. I'm a farmer, a man. She seemed surprised at the change of gender, but this was a happier lifetime. I'm a very good farmer because I love the earth so much, she observed. In her current life, Joan loves to work in the gardens where she finds peace and a respite from a hectic show business life. I gently awakened her. Her grief was already beginning to heal. She understood that her precious mother, who was a young daughter in 1835 England, was a sole companion across the centuries. Even though they were now once more separated, Joan knew that she would be tougher together again. In another time and another space, Elizabeth, who did not know about Joan's experience, came to me seeking a similar healing. Would she too find her beloved mother? Meanwhile, in the same office and the same chair, separated from Elizabeth by only the minuscule gulf of a few days, another drama was in progress. Pedro was suffering. His life was burdened with sadness, unshed secrets, and hidden longings. And the most important meeting of his life was silently but rapidly approaching. So these are stories of regression. That's what Dr. Weiss is special in. And why we do them in the soul's journey is because, firstly, I was guided. Secondly, because somewhere deep down, our mind is going to get trained. That healing can happen at this level. And gradually, the intention is for all of us to start believing in the process of our own being and get away from the scientific world and go inward to accept who we are and understand why what happens to us. Especially when we are in a loop in our life and problems just don't seem to diminish. And are we expanding the problem by talking again and again about it? Or are we looking at solutions and understanding what is this problem teaching me? Because every problem is there to teach us a lesson. If we don't learn the lesson, the problem keeps coming back again and again and again. So much so the life repeats again and again and again. And I've been very verbal about this in my life. I have spent so many lifetimes doing absolutely nothing. So let's be careful, let's be connected, tuned inward, that we are all living this life. It's part of a puzzle, and that puzzle has to come together. But are we in the process of bringing it together? So thankfully, all of us are in the morning sessions, right? At least making an effort to. Chapter number 5. Victor Hugo says, and still her grief would not abate. At last she bore another child, and great was the father's joy, and loud his cry, a son! That day to thus rejoice, he was the only one. Dejected and when the mother lay, her soul was numb, and then suddenly she cried with anguish wild. Her thoughts less on the new one than on the absent child, my angel in his grave, and I not at his side. Speaking through the row, babe now held in her embrace, she hears again the well-known voice adored. "'Tis I, but do not tell." He gazes at her face. Victor Hugo. How beautiful. How beautiful. Pedro is an extremely handsome Mexican man, more fair than I had anticipated, with sandy brown hair and wonderful blue eyes that at times seem almost green. His charm and easy wit hid the grief he was feeling at the death of his brother, who had died 10 months previously in a terrible automobile accident in Mexico City. Many people suffering from acute grief reactions came to see me, hoping to understand more about death or even to encounter the deceased loved ones again. The meeting might occur in a past lifetime. It might occur in the spiritual state bound in between lifetimes, or the reunion might take place in a mystical setting beyond the confines of physical body and physical geography. Whether the spiritual meetings are real or imaginary, they possess a power that is vividly felt by the patient. Lives are changed. And this is something we all must understand. स्पिरिचुअल मीटिंग्स की ड्रीम की तरह से हों या आपको एक फील हो कि शायद मेरा मिला है, इट डजंट मैटर वेदर दे आर रियल और दे आर नॉट, बिकॉज समवेयर दे आर रियल and they have come to heal you of something, to change your life. So embrace it, accept it, live it, see it, witness it, learn from it. The delicate and often detailed recalls of past lifetimes is not a wish fulfillment. Images are not merely conjured up because a patient heals, needs them, or because they might make him feel better. What is remembered is what has happened, always. The specificity and accuracy of remembered details, the depths of emotion displayed, the resolution of clinical symptoms, and the life transforming power of the memories all point to the reality of the recall. The unusual aspect of Pedro's story was the 10 months that had elapsed since his brother's death. By this time, grief is generally resolving. The long time span of Pedro's grief suggested an underlying and even deeper despair. His sadness actually extended far beyond his brother's death. We would learn in subsequent sessions that he had been separated from his loved ones over many lifetimes, and he was actually acutely sensitized to the loss of a love. The sudden death of his brother reminded him, in his deepest unconscious recess of his mind, of losses even greater, even more tragic, even over millennia. In psychiatric theory, each lost experience since regressed, repressed, or forgotten feelings and memories of previous losses are griefs magnified by the cumulative grief of earlier losses. In my research with past lives, I was finding that the arena in which these losses occurs need to be enlarged. We cannot go back only to childhood. Earlier past life losses need to be included. Some of our most tragic losses and our more profound grief happened before we were born. Before anything I needed to know about Pedro's life, I needed landmarks to navigate the flow of future sessions. Tell me about yourself, I asked, your childhood, your family, and whatever else you feel is important. Tell me everything you think I should know. Pedro sighed deeply and sank back into the large soft chair. He loosened his tie and unbuttoned the top button of his shirt. His body language told me that it would not be easy for him. Pedro came from a very privileged family, financially and politically. His father owned a large business and several factories. They lived in the hills above the city in a spectacular house in a secure gated community. Pedro had attended the finest private schools in the city. He had studied English since the early grades after living in Miami for several years, his English was excellent. He was the youngest of the three children. His sister was the oldest child, and even though she was 4 years older than he, Pedro was extremely protective of her. His brother was 2 years older and very close to Pedro. Pedro's dad worked very hard and usually didn't come home until late at night. His mother and the nannies, maids, and other staff ran the house and cared for the children. Pedro studied business in college. He had several girlfriends, but no really serious relationship. Somehow, my mother was never very fond of the girls I dated, Pedro added. She always found some particular fault and never let me forget. At this point, Pedro looked around uncomfortably. What is it? I inquired. He didn't respond immediately, swallowing several times before beginning. I had an affair with an older woman during my last year at the uni. He slowly told me she was older and married. Petro paused. Okay, I responded, after a few moments, mostly to fill the silence. I could feel his discomfort, and despite many years of experience, I still didn't like the feeling. Did her husband find out? No, he didn't. Things could have been worse, I pointed out, stating the obvious, trying to comfort him. There is more. I nodded, waiting for Betty to fill me in. She became pregnant. There was an abortion. My parents don't know about this. His eyes were cast downwards. He was still ashamed and feeling guilty years after the affair and the abortion. I understand. Can I tell you what I've learned about abortions? I asked him. He nodded his assent. He knew about my research into hypnosis and past lives. An abortion or a miscarriage usually involves an agreement between the mother and the soul that would enter the baby. Either the baby's body would not be healthy enough to carry out his planned tasks in the coming life, I continued, or the timing was not right for its purpose, or the outstation situation had changed, such as the desertion of the father when the baby or mother's plans required a father figure. Do you understand? Yes, he nodded, but he didn't look convinced. I knew that a strong Catholic background might make the resolution of his guilt and shame more difficult. Sometimes old fixed beliefs with the acquisition of new knowledge, I went back to the basics. I will tell you about my own research explained, not about what I have read or heard from others often. The information comes from my patients, usually when they are deeply hypnotized. Sometimes the words are theirs, and sometimes they seem to be coming from another higher source. Pedro nodded his head again, not speaking. My patients tell me that the soul does not enter the body right away. Around the time of conception, a reservation is made by the soul. No other soul can have that body. The soul who has reserved that particular baby's body can then come into and out of the body as it wishes. It's not confirmed. It's not confined. This is similar to people in comas added. But nodded in an understanding, still not speaking, but listening intently. During pregnancy, the soul is gradually more and more attached to the baby's body. I went on, but the attachment is not complete until around the time of birth, either shortly before, during, or just afterwards. I emphasize this concept by joining my hands at the base of my palms, forming a 90-degree angle. Then I slowly closed my hands so that the rest of my palms and my fingers met. Like the universal hand symbol for prayer, denoting the gradual attachment of the soul to the body. You can never harm or kill a soul. The soul is immortal and indestructible. It will find a way to return if that's the plan. What do you mean? Pedro asked. I've had cases where the same soul, after miscarriage or abortion, comes back to the same parents in the next baby. Incredible, Pedro responded. His face appeared brighter now, not as guilty or embarrassed. You never know, I added. After a few moments of contemplation, Pedro sighed again, crossed the legs, adjusting his pants. We had shifted back into history-taking mode. What happened after that? After graduation, I went back home. At first, I worked in the factories, learning more about the business. Later on, I came to Miami to run the business here and abroad. I've been here since. How's the business going? Very well, but it occupies too much of my time. Is that a problem? It doesn't help my love life, he said, grinning. He was not entirely joking, not 20, now 29 years old. He felt that he was racing past. He was racing past the time to find love, marry, and start a family, racing but no prospects. Are you having a relationship with women? Yes. But nothing special. I haven't really fallen in love. I hope I can. I will very soon have to return to Mexico and live there. In order to take over my brother's duties, perhaps I will meet someone there. I wondered if his mother's criticisms of Pedro's girlfriends and the experience of the affair that and the abortion were psychological obstacles to a loving and intimate relationship. We would look at these issues later, I thought. And how's your family in Mexico? I asked, lightening the mood while continuing to collect information. They are well. My father's more than 70 now, and so my brother and I. Pedro stopped abruptly. He swallowed and took a deep breath before resuming. So I have more responsibility in the business. My mother's also well, but they're both not coping well with the death. It has taken a great deal out of them. They've grown much older. And your sister, she's also sad, but she has a husband and children. I nodded my head in understanding. She had more distractions to help her cope. Pedro was in excellent physical condition. His only complaint was of intermittent pain in his neck and left shoulder, but his problem had been present for a very long time, and the doctors still had not found anything unusual. I have learned to live with it. I became aware of time. Looking at my watch, I saw that we had run 20 minutes late. My internal alarm clock was usually much more reliable. I must have been really absorbed in the drama of Pedro's story, irrationally, silently, unaware that even more absorbing dramas were only now beginning to unfold. The Vietnamese Buddhist monk and philosopher Thich Nhat Hanh writes about enjoying a good cup of tea. You must be completely awake in the present to enjoy the tea. Only in the awareness of the present can your hands feel the pleasant warmth of the cup. Only in the present can you savor the aroma, taste the sweetness, appreciate the delicacy. If you are ruminating about the past or worrying about the future, you will completely miss the experience of enjoying the cup of tea. You will look down all the cup and the tea will be gone. Life is like that. If you are not fully in the present, you will look around and it will be gone. You will have missed the fact, the feel, the aroma, the delicacy, and the beauty of life. It will seem to be speeding past you. Isn't that true? हम लाइफ को एंजॉय नहीं करते, लाइफ से निकल जाती है, जो कल गया वो वापस तो आएगा ही नहीं. बट डू वी रियली एंजॉय एवरी मोमेंट टू मोमेंट और सम पार्ट इन अ डे, or just going on autopilot mode from one to another, and we're not even bothered, we just see it slip through? Why? If we start learning to enjoy what we are doing at the present, we are going to be inching towards blissful state. If you have a cup of tea, enjoy the cup of tea rather than looking at the newspaper. If you look at the newspaper, be in the newspaper. If you look at a TV serial, be in the TV serial, not like, okay, ab ye karna, wo karna. When your mind is in 10 places, you are not living that moment. Multitasking for women has been given an acronym, but is it multitasking the same point, or is it multitasking the day throughout with events? It's time we need to understand this. The past is finished. Learn from it and let it go. The future is not even here yet. Plan for it, but do not waste your time worrying about it. So that's what they say now. Plan for the best and leave the rest. Trust the process. ऐसा नहीं होगा, मैंने प्लान किया तो कैसा होगा, जो होगा बहुत अच्छा होगा. Trust the process. Worrying is worthless. When you stop ruminating about what has already happened, when you stop worrying about what might never happen, then you will be in the present moment, and then you will begin to experience joy in life. Today, let's conclude at this, and let's just do our meditation. All right. Let's just beautifully close our eyes and relax our body. It doesn't matter if your backs are straight or not, it doesn't matter. Today's meditation doesn't require that. Just relax it. See that if you can become 5%, 10% more comfortable, you want to lie down, you can. Just relax. Leave your body loose. Take the first few minutes to align, going inwards by taking a deep breath in and out. Practice the box breathing. Breath in, hold, breath out, hold. Being aligned with your breath. We have been given this gift of breath. Enjoy it. And now, affirm to yourself, I am whole, perfect, strong, powerful, loving, harmonious, and joyfully happy. I know that love is everywhere, that I am loving, that I am lovable, and I have wasted enough time in validation from others. But I know that I must love and approve of myself. And even if I don't love and approve of myself, I am willing to love, to approve myself. While I say this, I truly trust life. I know life has my back. I know that at all given points of time, I am safe and secured because my angels are always guiding, protecting me. I know that even if something bad comes up, I will always be safe because I am a yes person and because I am grateful, because I am blessed. So, whatever happens to me for the choice is best. I may be struggling at this point in my life, but it's only because I'm yet to learn the lessons. And I am open and receptive to all the goodness and abundance in my universe, which it has to offer me. And I want to affirm to myself, and I am affirming, that wherever I turn, prosperity follows. That I am getting empowered daily, enlivened daily, enlightened daily. That I am willing to forgive myself and others for whatever happened, which wasn't according to the script that I had written. Because I believe it happens for the right reason at the right time. And it just had to happen. It's nobody's fault. And alas, affirm to myself that I am willing to change. I am willing to break the circuit I'm again and again going through. I'm willing to break the loop that I'm living in. And whatever that loop is, it could be monetary loop, it could be physical loop, it could be spiritual loop, whatever it is. Life is a blessing. My soul has chosen this journey for me to live in, to learn, to evolve, to create something magical. And up until now, I may have created, may not have created, but I know that I'm here for a reason. And that reason is beautiful. And the minute I tune inwards, life comes opening up, gifting me things beautifully. I know that I'm meant to be. And I know the time has come for me now to work on my soul level. I've had materialistic past, but in the future or the present, maybe materialism unfolds, but also what's unfolding is my soul's growth because I am finally in this life tapping back into my subconscious mind where the soul lives for getting wisdom, for getting guidance, because now I trust the process of me having my own mentor with me at all given point of time. Having said this, I know that I will now rely upon my gut feeling because I know it's not just me feeling, it is my higher self guiding me. And then each time when I trust it and something good happens, I trust it even more. Because by now I'm tuned in. And when I'm tuned in, when I trust my soul, when I thank my soul for the lesson that I've learned that particular moment, or thank it for the guidance and that thing has worked, My soul knows that I am listening, that I am feeling, that I am tuned finally. And that is when I know that magic's miracles will unfold in my life because love is all there is. And that's real. And then whatever I am seeking comes to me magically. Now I don't even have to ask because these synchronicities, divine revelations will happen automatically. This is who I am. This is who I'm beginning to become. I am grateful. I am blessed. I am joyful. I find happiness wherever I go. Choose to see happiness and good things in life. And wherever my energy goes, that unfolds. So I'm choosing to have limited visual of only the good, and the good unfolds. And then whatever struggles are going in me also become beautiful lessons to be learned. Because now the struggle is no more a struggle, because I know that I am meant to go through this. So I go through it with smile. This is my soul's journey. This is my journey. As somebody who's reincarnated with a name and a face and in a physical body. Keep blessing your body with these beautiful affirmations, with these good thoughts. And it's like talk to your soul. Say whatever you feel like saying. Maybe that you are sorry for not having trusted it, but finally realizing that trust is all there is. Maybe someone back in the day taught you don't trust people. So you don't trust yourself either because you're all part of the people clan. So now control or delete all of those programming that is fed into your system. Wipe out those programming and start affirming, I trust. And my trust always gives me wonders. The more I trust, the more I am given reasons to trust. Affirm that I am safe wherever I go. I am guided, protected wherever I go. And then see the magical guidances and see the magical synchronicities because you are now tuned inwards. Keep expanding this beautiful realm of your inward journey. If you wish, keep your hand on your heart and talk to it. That oftentimes I don't listen to you. I listen to my analytical brain, my left side of the brain, my, you know, brain just is the same is conscious. But I know that you, dear heart, are always guiding me to the right place and to the soul that I have in me. How wonderful and grateful. This morning is all about your thank yous to your body, to your soul, to your higher self, to the person in you, to your aura, to your etheric layer, spiritual layer. And be grateful for all the divine lessons that we learn every morning. We may feel we're just reading a story, but there are lessons to be learned. When we see and hear and feel somebody else's healing, we are healing on a cellular level because that's how the law of resonance goes. By the end of this journey, a lot of us would have evolved, health issues faded, love, light filling our body. With this beautiful thought, you can continue to meditate on your own or call it a day. I prefer the meditation mornings. So lots of love and light to you. Do what you're guided inwards. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.